Jubilee. A national vision for ethical renewal, education, and collective prosperity. Purpose. Jubilee proposes a practical yet inspiring framework for national renewal, economic, educational, and moral. It argues that Canada and other advanced democracies now face a trust and coherence crisis deeper than any fiscal shortfall. Citizens no longer believe their institutions reflect their values. The solution, the book contends, is not merely reform but reconnection, rebuilding systems that reward empathy, transparency, and learning as deliberately as the current ones reward competition and short-term gain. Core thesis. A nation's greatest renewable resource is trust. When fairness and understanding are engineered into education, economics, and governance, prosperity and unity follow naturally. Jubilee treats ethics and education as national infrastructure. It calls for a decade-long Jubilee period, an intentional reset of policies and priorities that restores dignity to work, transparency to governance, and imagination to learning. Key pillars. Open education for all. Create a federally supported digital learning platform, free, gamified, accessible nationwide. Market education with the same energy used to market consumer goods. Integrate civic, environmental, and digital ethics literacy into every level of schooling. Position education as Canada's signature export and unifying cultural asset. The moral economy. Simplify and digitize tax systems to eliminate hidden privilege and rebuild public confidence. Introduce a dignity wage index to local living costs. Tie corporate incentives to measurable social and environmental outcomes. Treat fairness as the most efficient form of economic stimulus. Ethics by design. Embed transparency dashboards, open budgets, and algorithmic audits into federal and provincial operations. Make honesty administratively simple and corruption administratively difficult. Encourage every ministry to publish plain language progress data visible to citizens. The Jubilee Compact. Establish a 10-year national initiative uniting government, Indigenous leadership, academia, and civil society around the goal of measurable trust recovery. Pair financial debt relief programs with social and environmental debt repayment, investment in health, housing, and ecological restoration. Empathy and science united. Fund interdisciplinary research linking neuroscience, education, and social policy to understand how empathy and cooperation enhance national productivity. Reorient public health strategy toward mental resilience and community cohesion. Intended outcomes. Domain. Expected result, 10-year horizon. Economic. Higher labor participation, innovation, and small business formation through educational equity. Social. Measurable increase in institutional trust and civic engagement. Environmental. Broader acceptance of sustainability policies framed as intergenerational fairness. International. Canada positioned as a global leader in ethical governance design and open education. Tone and philosophy. Jubilee is optimistic but practical. It speaks in the language of policy, not partisanship, inviting collaboration across federal, provincial, Indigenous, and private sectors. Its central message, rebuilding trust, is the most productive investment a government can make. Closing statement. Canada's future advantage will not lie in what we extract, but in what we cultivate: knowledge, fairness, and faith in one another. Jubilee offers the blueprint for that cultivation, a national act of renewal grounded in transparency, compassion, and learning for every Saitais Jubilee. Table of contents. Chapter. Title. Core focus. 1. The Spark: How Curiosity Built Civilization. Introduces humanity's evolutionary relationship with knowledge, from firelight to fiber optics. 2. Mycelial minds: The biological blueprint for connection. Explores fungi networks as a metaphor for human learning and neuroplasticity. 3. Knowledge as the New Commons: How open access becomes the engine of civilization. Historical arc from the Library of Alexandria to the Digital Commons, argument for open source education. 4. The economics of education, measuring the return on learning. Demonstrates education's financial ROI and societal benefits through global and Canadian data. 5. The Canadian Opportunity, a nation ready to learn. Details how Canada's social, cultural, and digital fabric uniquely prepares it to lead the learning revolution. 6. Designing the platform, architecture of a learning nation. Technical and governance blueprint for Learn Canada, how to build it and who runs it. 7. Marketing the mind, how to make learning the new national sport. Explores the psychology of aspiration and how to make education as addictive as entertainment. 8. Education as restitution, knowledge as the new public dividend. Reframes open learning as moral and economic restitution for historical injustices and unpaid labor. 9. Global precedents, learning nations and what Canada can learn from them. Examines global models, Finland, Singapore, Estonia, South Korea, etc., for inspiration and adaptation. 10. Blueprint for implementation, governance, education, technology, economy. Converts the vision into a step-by-step policy framework, timeline, and funding model. 11. The payoff, prosperity, cohesion, and the new social contract. Illustrates measurable returns, economic, social, environmental, and psychological. 12. From policy to legacy, safeguarding the learning nation for future generations. Ensures sustainability via constitutional rights, endowments, and cultural rituals. 13. Epilogue, the light we leave behind. A poetic closing reflection on legacy, wisdom, and the infinite chain of human learning. Chapter 1: The idea of a Jubilee.